if you want to be an online teacher, you need a way to take virtual digital payments. If you're not in a school, if you're not in a physical brick and mortar institution, someone's not handing their credit card to you, you need to have a way to do this online. So the best thing to do, just like with all the other things, is you want to keep it as simple as you can possibly keep it. And for most situations, that is going to mean PayPal. Whether it's a personal PayPal account or a business PayPal account, which I believe is even free to set up, it just has like some more invoicing features. That, to be honest, that is not even necessary. What I use is PayPal.me. So when you sign up for a PayPal account, I don't know if you need a business account to do this, but PayPal.me is a way that you can just give somebody a link to an amount of money. So anybody can send me money at any time. You right now can go to paypal.me/RushChris or Chris Rush, which I don't remember which one it is, and you can send me money. Please feel free to do that at any time. You can also add a slash and an amount. So if I want to charge somebody $100, let's say, I would just send them to paypal.me/RushChris/100. And there they go. Now they can pay me. So PayPal is just going to be the fastest and simplest way to do this. But just like I talked about with video conferencing systems, the most important thing to do is to do what your students know. So, I'm in the US. A lot of my students are also in the US. They're from other places. They live here. PayPal is just easiest. I have PayPal, they know PayPal, we use PayPal, done, we don't have to think about it. For most people, even abroad, that's gonna be the case. PayPal is accepted in places that even don't have credit cards. But regionally, there might be something different, whether it's Payoneer or there's some other ones. Just use whatever your students are gonna be most familiar with. Now, sometimes people ask the question, what do I do if PayPal's not an option? Well, is there another well-known alternative? Is there a Payoneer or a Stripe or a something else? And if the answer is no, if the answer is just no, that we can't do credit cards and we can't do any of these other things, what do I do? I mean, then you have to start getting creative. I saw someone posted, can you do crypto? Is that an option? But if you continues to be no, maybe you need to rethink your audience, right? Because payments are super, super basic. And if you're trying to teach in a situation where payment is like a really burdensome, complex thing, that might be a sign to you that you might need to pick a different audience. Instead of you might be trying to teach students in the local area where you live. Well, the beauty about teaching online is that you can reach the whole world. It might be worth considering to try to broaden your audience, maybe to some place where payments won't be such an issue, because you could have a hard time getting off the ground if you can't figure out something as basic as someone trying to give you money. You want to be able to have a simple system in place for people to give you money. Gareth asks, for students in other countries, would you choose US dollars or could you choose US dollars and it would show for everyone? My understanding is that, in PayPal, you can set your currency and that PayPal will handle that for them. I just do my currency in US dollars no matter who I'm teaching or where they are in the world. That way I don't have to worry about conversion. I let PayPal handle that, and whatever the price is in someone's local currency is what it is. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about trying to do conversions. The nice thing about a tool about PayPal is it's gonna tend to take care of that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's the first thing. Use PayPal if you can. If you can't, find out what else people do, like Payoneer or whatever. If that's not an option, consider a different audience where payments are gonna be possible. I want to address a question about pricing. So John asked a question about pricing. He asked, how do I price? Is $39.95 like a good starting price? So that's a really interesting question, and it's connected to payments because, okay, once you have your payment system in place, then you ask the question, well, how much do I charge? How much is a lesson? So this depends on a lot of factors. The first factor it depends on is, what are you offering? Because the price depends on, like, you give money in exchange for something specific. I go to the store, even I'm not talking about services, I go to a store, I pay money, I get a thing. Well, the thing that I get is going to determine how much I pay. And English lessons, we don't think of it this way, are the same. Not all English lessons are the same. It depends on what you're offering your student. So let me speak for myself. My niche is business English. Now listen, I chose business English in 2012, right? I really didn't know what I was doing. I just picked business English. But business English, you can ask for a higher price for business English than you can for fun, loose conversation. Because fun, loose conversation is hard to have a specific outcome. But what I say to my students is, do you want a promotion? Promotions are worth a lot of money. You can get a promotion. You can make your boss think that you're doing a better job. Those are important things. Do you want to move to an English-speaking country? For a lot of people, that's a very valuable thing. That's going to be worth more. So the more specific of a need you can meet to a more specific audience, that's going to be worth more. Like other really generalists, like gain confidence for everyone. That's not speaking to me, you know? Like in the internet, I have infinite choice of things. So I'm only gonna give my money to something that's really just for me. So it really depends on what you're promising. You know, if you're promising accent reduction for business executives so that you can impress people at your next board meeting, that might be a really valuable skill. So number one, your pricing depends on what you're promising. And the deeper question is, you need to think about what you're promising in your English lessons. If you don't have something that you're a clear and compelling thing that you're offering, you should really think about that. Because if you're not, then it's going to be hard for someone to see the value no matter what you charge. Why? Because there's a million English teachers in the world, and all of them say, I understand how it is. I'm an English learner too. Or I'm also a language learner. Or we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. Those are not good things to offer. Everybody says that. You want to offer something that's really specific. And if you don't know what it is, think about it. Sit down and think, what can I promise somebody? What do my best students get out of it? But I don't want to go down too deep this rabbit hole, but that's important for pricing. The second thing that's important for pricing is your target audience. So number one, that could be geography, right? Like if you were a local teacher teaching local people, there's going to be a big difference in what you can charge depending on where you are. If you're somewhere in the developing world, you may not be able to ask for as much as you could for somewhere that's in like a more developed economy. It's just something to be aware of. I have gotten most of my students from teaching platforms, the italkis and the Prepleys of the world. So doing that, I have access to people who are, in places where pricing, I don't have to think about what a local economy is when I offer my price. So when you're deciding how much to charge, think about where you are. Are you on Preply? Are you on italki? Are you on your own teaching website? All of these are factors. Who are the people you're trying to sell to? What is the range of English lessons? Just something to think about. Okay, great. I saw another question, and I want to talk about managing pricing with students. So Claire asked a question, really good question. How do I handle scheduling on multiple platforms? And that's a great question because there's really no great answer for that. My understanding is that Preply, the teaching platform Preply, syncs with your Google Calendar, which is awesome because anytime you put something else on your calendar, whether it's another English lesson or you just block yourself off, it will prevent a student from booking that time. That's great. My understanding is that italki has no such feature, so that the only way to keep your italki calendar completely up to date would be anytime you add something to your calendar, whether it's a student from another platform, a private student, or things that come up in your life other than English lessons, you would then have to go and move your italki availability, and it's actually not super easy to do. So it's not great. There's no one size fits all amazing solution for that. It's just something you've got to juggle. And it does help if you're able to be all in with one platform. That's why for me, that was part of the reason I just kind of stuck with italki for so long, because I didn't want to deal with that. It got to be kind of a hassle, and I just found I already had momentum on italki, I had students on italki, but the system with Preply is definitely better. It allows you to manage it. So you can do it a little better if Preply is your principal thing. So one other thing I want to talk about, and this is in managing classes with students. Let's say you're totally independent, and how do you manage a situation where, like, okay, I've got a student who's bought a 10-pack, or I've got a student who bought a 20-pack, and how do I keep track of how many they've got, and what if I've got 5 students, and won't this be overwhelming? Well, it could be overwhelming, once you get larger, but in the beginning, just like we've been talking about, the best thing to do is keep this simple. There's software that can do this, right? There's a software I've used called Omnify, but I would only really do that if it was a situation where I couldn't handle it myself with a Google Sheet. Most of the time, all you have to do is you make a little Google Sheet, you share it with your students, you make a column with dates, and then a column with how many lessons they have left, and you make a row every time they have a lesson, and you take one away, and you just have it all there, and it's really easy to manage. So for now, this is kind of the theme. When you're starting off, keep things simple. Don't worry about trying to learn new software, sending your student links, blah, blah. Just make a little Google Sheet, and that should be fine until it gets so busy. That's your sign. When you get so busy, and when it gets so complex that the Google Sheets aren't cutting it anymore, that's your sign to go sign up for the paid software. But I really wouldn't worry about it until then, because the focus of everything we're talking about is how to be quick, how to be efficient, how to have money coming in, and minimize the amount of money you have going out to pay for specialized software solutions. The only other possible exception to that is it always is good to hire a virtual assistant. So you can have a virtual assistant who you can get very inexpensively, maybe just a few hours a week, and then they can handle the Google Sheet for you. So if you're a situation where you have a few students, you've got a few things to manage, before you even go the software route, it might be helpful for you to think about getting a virtual assistant who can manage some of those things for you in terms of, this is how many lessons they've bought, this is how many they have left, this is where we stand. Okay, fantastic. That's all I want to do for today. This is already long enough.